Hi, all. My name is Alexis. This is my website. A few things that I want to say first is that my beliefs on technology are very old school. I enjoy technology. I love my phone, but I think that when it comes to technology in the classroom, it needs to be used um, sporadically, and it needs to be used as a fun addition, not necessarily the foundation of the classroom as a whole. I think that that's just how I teach. But something that I did figure out this year is that I really like the way that you can communicate with your students in a different way, and I think that it can enhance communication when used properly. So my views on technology in the classroom are on my About Me page as well. I think that it's definitely used when it needs to be appropriate. I think that it can definitely enhance the learning, as I said earlier. Communicating face to face, though, is 100% my go-to. It's what I'm comfortable with, but I'm a 21st century person. I understand that that's not necessarily always the case. So I think that integrating it in a way that can be used effectively is something that I'm all for, and something that I think is really important, especially because we're living in the 21st century. I don't want my students to fall behind in the world just because I'm using it less than some other teachers. So I definitely want to make sure that I integrate it enough so that my kids, again, my students don't fall behind and don't need to catch up all the time. But I don't want my students to become dependent on technology, because I think that the world and the way that we teach is something that's really important, and that students should learn how to do things without technology first and then use technology, just like how you're taught to do math by hand before you're taught to do math with a calculator. It's easy and helpful to use a calculator, but I can do 2 plus 2, by hand if needed, which I think is something that's important for using technology in the classroom. So those are my views on it. The badges that I'm going to talk to you about. First, I'm going to talk to you about my SMORE badge. I really loved this badge. Again, as I said before, I think communication is really important. I think it's really cool how you can communicate with your students in different ways online. And one of them was the SMORE badge that I thought was really cool. I think I'd use it as a weekly communication with students and with parents, and I'd send it out via email or post it online if they end up using Canvas or some sort of site like that. I think that this is really effective, and I think that I could do little themes. See, I have up over here, coming soon next week, welcome to the jungle theme. I think that would be really cool. I have reminders just for stuff coming up within the school year, within that week, that parents need to be looking out for. At home stuff, this is a great thing that I really love, just because I want students and parents to know what I'm expecting from them outside of the classroom, and it's just a weekly reminder as well. And then also they can know what's going on in our learning that week, just to have a heads up if they go to private tutoring, or if they're gonna be out one day that week, they'll know kind of the overview of what's going on. It has my contact information here, so if something is really dire, they can contact me. Again, I'm sending this out to parents too, because I'm well aware of the fact that elementary kids won't necessarily be calling me, texting me. That's inappropriate. But parents, if something is in dire need of being contacted immediately. My cell's on there. Email, though, is on there as well, and I'll check that regularly, so parents will know where they can contact me. I also have like important dates in the calendar over here just to keep the parents in the loop, and also like, making sure that they're aware of PTA meetings coming up, fundraisers, etc. And I think that that's a really cool way of communication. The next badge that we're talking about is also another form of communication that I really liked, the pictochart. This is something that I think I would use daily with students, and I'd probably post them online as well. But I would use it daily with students because I think it's a little more short, sweet, and to the point. Definitely like a daily thing. I think it's by lesson, like do's and don'ts of what we're doing in the lesson, do's and don'ts of the classroom, as well as the highlights of what we're learning that day, what they need to bring to class, stuff like that. I think that it's really important. I think that something like really cool was how I could do surveys on here, and also I think that when students are absent or late, they can pull this up on their computer. I'll also probably have it posted on the board, and I'll probably print out a few copies as well. But just so that like they can keep up with things, and if a student is absent, I have everything written down daily for them in a cute little newsletter, so that they can see what's going on in the class that day and don't fall behind if they do end up missing or if they're sick. So I think that's really useful for the communication, especially via just students. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is my production badge. It's probably my favorite one. I used the book creator for the production badge. I ended up using it in my micro teaching as well. It was one of my favorites. I really liked the fact that you could create the book itself, like everything about it. I think that it's very cool. It can the website can read to you if you want it to, which I think is really cool if a student is having a really hard time with reading, if they don't know how to pronounce a word. I think that it's really important that the website can, in fact, read to you. However, I think something else that was really cool is that they can take this, home or in reading circles together and read it out loud with each other. And I wrote it as the teacher, so it's information that like I'm saying to them that I'm doing, and they're also getting reading out of it, so they know that the information that they're reading is relevant to the lessons, as well as the fact that it's reading, so it's good for the brain, and they can also use it to pass time, review information, and it's all written down, and it is again by me, so it's really relevant to the class as a whole, and it's probably it is my favorite badge that I did. I think that it's just very cool that you could create everything. And lastly, the next badge that I'm going to talk about is the timeline. I did it a little differently than a normal timeline. I did it more of, I want you to learn this first, and then this first, and then this first, et cetera, et cetera. Something else that I added was a did you know? I thought that was a really cool feature. Just kind of like a fun fact about the topic that I chose to teach. I think that it's really cool. Something else that I would definitely be able to use in different ways. I could, use it as a literal timeline, and, this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. Or I could do, what I did here. I want you to learn this first, and then this, and then this. I think that it's something that I loved doing. I loved that you could add pictures. I think that it's really engaging, and it really just enhances the learning. I think that it's better than just having a PowerPoint or lecturing the students. This way, there's it's kind of like a picture book where you see all the pictures, so you don't think it's as much reading. Students are more likely to read the little captions rather than massive paragraphs. I also think that it shows like examples, which I love because I'm personally a visual learner, and so I know that like a lot of elementary kids are also visual learners as well. And then you also have the audio learning here and the actual doing of the task. So I think that it's just really important that that you have all of those types of teaching in there. And I think that this specific website and the specific badge has all of those because it's so versatile. And so that's why I really liked it. This is my professional development evaluation. As you can see here, very general based, very creative based. Everything else is kind of not really there. And then here after taking the class, it's way more balanced. The gallery, again, it has some of my favorite works, some of my best works, and then standards as well. And then down at the bottom are all the links that I mentioned of the examples. So I really liked, as a whole, I really enjoyed, making all the artifacts. I think that I will definitely be using technology in my classroom in the future. I think that it's a great way to engage students and really just enhance the learning as a whole. I think that when I use it, I will use it again sporadically, not every day, but I do think that I will use it in some form at least 4 out of the 5 days of the week, just because I don't want my students to fall behind, and I think that I, as a teacher, want to become comfortable with using it, and I also really do enjoy the newsletters, the making sure that my students are up to date. They have everything that they need, all the information, and I think that technology is a great way to do that. So yeah, thanks so much for listening.